I'm back, friends. So you may or may not have noticed that I have not been present on YouTube or social media at all in all of 2024. Now, this was not some sort of digital cleanse or even a conscious goal. It was really organic and came about as a way I've been living my life for about the last year. So if you're struggling with feeling stuck at work or relationship where you live, if you're struggling with behaviors around body image, food, anything else in life, gambling, spending, shopping, what have you, and you beat yourself up about making the right or the wrong decision, if you're feeling kind of stuck, join me as I tell you a little bit more about how I've been living my life and how it led up to just not being on social media for a couple of months. And I'll also share how this video in particular is actually me challenging whether I am living in that sense of attunement or I'm living in avoidance. So let me go back to the beginning. So I lived a lot of my life, and I still do in certain elements, in this mindset of creating, of manifesting, of what should I do, what should I be. And a lot of that, as I've really been reflecting upon it, was coming from fear, was coming from conditioning, and was a lot of it was coming from what other people think, how other people will perceive me, and how I will be perceived based on these social constructs that I was born into. And this all really started with me really questioning even the idea of manifesting. I'm a big fan of manifesting, and I also was noticing that things that I would manifest would oftentimes come with this sort of opposite energy. I would sort of get what I wanted, not always in the way that I intended it, but something else would also come with it, kind of balancing it out. And I was really kind of thinking about this idea that a lot of the times what I was manifesting and what I think a lot of people are trying to manifest are these things that we want. So a lot of these are coming from these desires, these wants of the ego, oftentimes based on constructs that we lived in and how other people will perceive us or what we feel will make us happy. And it got me thinking about how so much of my life I was trying to force it, trying to create it, curate it, rather than just allow it to flow. And so I noticed that my life was sort of being pushed into a transition about 2 years ago. And I noticed at first I was very much in the mindset of fear and scarcity. And once I realized that, I was able to step back and I was able to then eventually, this wasn't an overnight thing, my friends, move into a place of allowance, of trust, and of acceptance. So as I started living in this place of allowing and acceptance and trust, I started noticing what feels aligned and what doesn't feel aligned. And you can insert whatever word you want, really. What feels good, what doesn't feel good, what feels pleasant, what feels unpleasant, what feels easeful, what feels hard. Now, I do want to caution you, right? Because I noticed for myself, if something didn't feel aligned, I was like, well, it's got to go. I got to change that. I got to stop. And that's not really the point of this. It could be, right? If it's a behavior and like that doesn't feel aligned, I'm not going to do that anymore. And you stop doing it, amazing. But most people don't have the luxury, right? Of, well, I'm just going to move, or I'm going to quit my job, or I'm going to end this relationship. There are oftentimes things that they may not feel aligned, right? Like no one wants to pay their taxes, but we have to. So noticing what feels aligned and what doesn't feel aligned. And what I liked about this, it was just this softer way of living my life. Just noticing, that felt aligned. That didn't feel aligned. And the interesting thing is, the more you just notice it, the more you observe it, take that step back into the witness, into the observer, rather than judging it. Oh, that should feel aligned. I should like going to the gym, right? Or I should like taking that class, or I should like eating that food. And just noticing that didn't really feel aligned. And what's really cool about this is that you'll notice that it shifts from day to day. One day it might feel aligned, one day it might not. So my invitation to you is to start noticing what feels aligned and what doesn't feel aligned. And now it can feel overwhelming to take that on in your entire life. This sort of just organically started flowing for me, and so it felt more easeful. But I will say that if you tend to think in an all or nothing way, then maybe just pick something, right? And maybe not the most charged thing. If you're wanting to move or end a relationship, a friendship, partnership, if you're wanting to leave your job, maybe don't pick that one if you tend to be reactive or impulsive. Maybe start with something a little bit less charged and just notice that. So let's say you're working on your relationship with food, right? Maybe noticing what foods feel aligned and don't feel aligned. Maybe that's too hard for you right now. Maybe you have been working on embodiment and you can notice what movement feels aligned and what movement doesn't feel aligned. And with that, right, you can move into that more intuitive space. And that's really the goal here. See, my speech impediment comes out when I'm tired. So I'm tired, friends. But what I love about this is that you are cultivating your attunement to self. You're cultivating your attunement to your intuition, to your needs. You're finding this union, right? Which is really what yoga is, the union of mind, body, spirit, soul, insert whatever word choices you like. But there's this union and there's this divine oneness and connection that allows you to live your life with more ease, with guidance, with this sense of flow. Doesn't mean things aren't hard, doesn't mean things don't suck, doesn't mean things don't want to make you scream and cry. Yeah, they do. That's life. That's part of the human experience. But you're able to see it in a different way, or at least I'm able to see it in a different way. And I'm not promising that this is going to work for you. You may be listening to this thinking, this sounds like bullshit, Claire. And that's fine. If it doesn't resonate for you, it doesn't resonate for you. Find what works for you. This has been working for me, noticing what feels aligned, what doesn't feel aligned, and over time, collecting all of my data and information, I can then make informed decisions about choices that I want to make that may be bigger choices. And this is where this came to play with social media. I've always been trying to really understand and work on my relationship with social media because I felt a lot of resistance with it. And that's part of why I did my gratitudes every day for a year and then kept doing it for I think another year and a half, 2 years, because I wanted to spread this balancing energy. I felt called to bring forth an energy of gratitude into social media. And that felt good for me until it didn't. And that wasn't really feeling aligned. And so I realized that I was doing this without realizing I was doing it. And for me, I was posting a ton. I was feeling really creatively in my flow. Interestingly enough, after I ended a quite toxic relationship, which again speaks to how certain things that maybe aren't working for you can be creating blockages. Whether you want to think about that as the chakras or just energy or just a block or toxicity, whatever way you want to think about it. Once I moved past that and healed and grieved and mourned and felt all my feelings around the situation, I was able to tap into my creativity and it just started flowing. And it felt really good. And then it was the end of 2023 and I wasn't really feeling like I wanted to be on social media. And to be honest, I was posting, but I wasn't engaging. I wasn't feeling called to it. I have a very addictive personality, but social media is not one of them. So I noticed that I was posting, I wasn't engaging, and I know that's not part of the protocol, but I was just doing what felt good, right? Doing what felt aligned. 2024, I was realizing I don't really feel like making content right now. I kind of feel like I'm in this sort of like cocoon phase. So I decided I'm not gonna make any content this week. And I felt really good. And I wasn't on social media. I wasn't going on Instagram. And it just kept flowing. Every week, every day, I would just check in with myself. How are you feeling? Yeah, no. And so I deleted Instagram from my phone. I deactivated my Facebook, which I never use anyways. And I just wasn't making content. Now, this is the interesting part though, friends, because I tend to love the dance of avoidance. Anyone with me on that? So definitely a dance that I know very, very well, and I can slip into the avoidance dance like a pro. So I had to check in with myself. Do I not want to make content? Because I had all these ideas flowing, all these ideas that I wanted to share. And so I kept sitting with myself thinking, you have all these ideas, you're feeling called to do it. So are you now in a place of avoidance? And so friends, I am making this video now, about 2 weeks now of going back and forth with that avoidance, going to try to make it and then not wanting to, not feeling aligned. And so for me, making this video is just to challenge myself. Am I avoiding this? Or is it just not feeling aligned? And so again, this is just my invitation to you. Notice what feels aligned, notice what feels good, notice what doesn't feel aligned, what doesn't feel good, and allow that to be your true north. Allow that to guide you in your decision making. Again, not from a reactive place, but from an informed place where, yes, this is feeling like this decision is feeling aligned for me. All right, friends, so I'm feeling like this video is a wrap. So I'm gonna sign off. As always, stay curious, friends.